Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Time for another Metal Earth build, another kit, another one from the Batman series. I'm going to go with a classic. I'm going with the TV series, original TV series Batmobile from the 60s, Adam West. This I look forward to. This is going to be fun. This is a really neat looking and iconic Batmobile from my childhood. So let's crack this open, tear into it, and see what's inside. Instructions into metal sheets. I like what they did there. The wheels are where they're supposed to be in the sheet. And this one has two sheets, as we can see. And if we open up the first piece of paper, and if we open it up, we have little line drawing, some information about insertion holes, tabs, and folds, a little bit about needle nose pliers being helpful for assembly, a legend, E for engraved side, NE for non-engraved side, and a tension point, which is, I've only seen this on one other kit, and I think that was a Guardian. And then over here, what I used to call the legend was the blue circle for bending tabs over 90 degrees, the green triangle for twisting them. And then down here, of course, we have our two sheets listed so that we can find the appropriate parts. There's the layout and the numbers pointing to the different parts. Some of them are colored because, for instance, here all three green pieces are piece 32 and they're all the same. Piece 31 is this yellow rim, and there's 4 of them. And that's very handy for finding. It keeps them from having to roll all these numbers around here. Makes it easier to find those specific parts by color. And sometimes there are parts that are very similar, and without the different colors it would be hard to tell. And if we move to page 2, find myself some room here. We have the assembly flowchart starting with part 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And you follow the arrows and then jump down here, and you continue with 5, 6, and 7, and these are like sub-assemblies. This is the part, you fold it together and put it here, fold this one together and put it here. This is 2 different parts assembled together, they go here, and just continue on. Get to the other side, page 3, follow the arrows, little sub-assembly, page 4, the same, and then we have another sheet. And we have 5, we have page 6, and you just continue on, flip it over, page 7, page 8, done. Tools that I use: pliers. Pliers are very good. Long needle nose pliers are excellent for a great many things. Flat nose pliers are great for certain bends, and it's essential to have some sort of clippers to be able to easily and cleanly remove the parts from the sheets. Tweezers are very helpful. They're very small and easy to manage. They're great for holding on to small parts, great for making small bends, great for twisting and bending some of the tabs. I like to have an assortment of different kinds. I have a fairly normal set of tweezers, a thinner set, and a couple of sets with very pointed ends for getting into very small areas. Round nose or ring pliers are very useful for shaping some of the curved parts. You can just get the metal in between there and just slowly bend it and curve it for all of the odd shaped areas of your kit. There's a number of different things you can use to make these cylinder shaped and round parts. I have a bunch of dowel rods that I've used, a couple of them sharpened for making cone shapes. I've also picked up some step mandrels that have different size round areas, or a very inexpensive drill bit set. This is a set that I got very cheaply that I honestly would never use to actually drill with, but there's a lot of different sizes you can use. A couple of other things I often find useful is a small hobby knife, not for the sake of cutting, but because it's very thin and you can reach in and sometimes pry things apart. Sometimes that is needed. and also good for reaching into tight areas and bending over tabs. And then I have a sort of dental pick type tool, which is great for reaching into certain areas and maybe pulling tabs out that have been bent too far, or pushing things in that don't just quite line up, instead of pulling the part apart and making adjustments with pliers. We have our sheets, some tools, the instructions. Let's get started. It can take a few tries to find the right size drill bit or dowel rod for the part you're shaping. I like to start a little big and work down. I roll the ends on the table to help curve them. The dash has a little bit of a curve downward. I tried using a drill bit, but that didn't work. I had to use flat nose pliers and carefully bend down a little at a time. Shaping the steering wheel was a delicate process. For part 10, I pinched the ends down with tweezers to finish rounding out the part. Because of the low clearance, I decided to bend over the two tabs on part 10 instead of twisting them. I was worried that the part would not sit flat. Oops, I forgot part 8. Shaping the windshield took time and patience. I didn't want to chop up the video where I was bending and shaping and testing the windshield. It was an involved process that I felt I needed to show more complete, so instead I sped it up.
With parts that are at odd angles, it makes it easier to line up the tabs to the slots if you bend all the tabs facing towards the next part or connection. These tabs are supposed to fold over, but I twisted the first two to hold the part in place, carefully worked over the other tabs, then came back, untwisted, and bent over the first two. I lifted up the two box shapes on the back to have enough room to fold over to the sides and then squeeze them into place. It's a tight fit. Trying to understand how some of these parts are supposed to bend and curve was a little challenging. I managed to get the first side on, but later realized I should have curved the part of the front instead of just bending it over at a right angle. I spent a lot of time making small adjustments and test fitting parts until things lined up. I'm not showing all of that here for the sake of keeping this video from being extraordinarily long. The instructions did not seem to indicate it, but the leaf springs at the back need a little bit of a curve. They were too long to fit the tabs without it, and well, leaf springs are curved. This video has been edited down. I have not shown all the different attempts, adjustment, or retries of this build. I also clip out parts where I am studying the directions, searching for and clipping parts, and some repetitive steps. It may make it look like this kit came together easier than it did, but there is a lot of bending and adjusting of parts to make things fit. Work slowly, be patient, and take your time. As usual, getting the two halves together is a bit of a fight. I have to admit I'm a bit confused as to why part 36 is even there. It is tricky to get the one tab into its slot, and there's no way to secure it once you have. It also seemed to keep the front of the Batmobile from fitting together properly. I pushed it down and out of the way. The tabs on the side of the front also did not want to line up and seemed to be of little point. I pushed the tabs down enough to get the front to sit properly and left them there.
The Batmobile. This was a more challenging kit because of the way a lot of the shapes are in the front. You have a lot of curving to do for the front fenders, for the center part, especially the windows. I usually chop the video up so that it doesn't have as much extra in it, but for the windows I thought it might be kind of important to see all the work that went into shaping those. You have to take your time and be patient and try to shape and test it and shape it and test it. So I wanted to include all that into the video. But once I got all of the shaping of all the exterior parts out of the way, the hood and the center cowl and the windows, once I got that out of the way and got the upper body constructed, The rest of it was very straightforward. The bottom of it was pretty simple. The wheels were really easy. It kind of sped up in a way from there. So that's that. It didn't have the complications of the other Batmobile, the one from the Batman versus Superman. That one just had a lot of really weird angles to work out, and that kind of was the complexity of that one. I have to say I'm really impressed by the way the bottom is done. I like the detail to it. I like the fact that it's not just one flat piece, that it actually has a couple of layers, which adds to the 3-dimension. You've got the bottom of the engine. It's got kind of a curve to it. You can see the transmission, see some of the detail. I appreciate that. Being somebody that used to work on model cars when I was younger, and given all the detail, not only of the upper side and the interior, but also underneath. I appreciate that. So that's really cool. I enjoyed that. It's one of those things, it's kind of a blast from the past. It holds special memories from childhood where I used to watch this show. And granted, I don't remember when it first came out, but still, it was something that was still on the air and still really neat and exciting, and I still enjoyed watching it. So it's always going to carry a more special place than any of the newer stuff. And it just looks so freaking 60s awesome. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Stay tuned for more Batman kits as well as others. Thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.